What makes a church? Is it the building, the music, the pews? Is it the sermons? Here at Rocky River Presbyterian Church, we believe what makes a church is the people, the community, the friendships, the family. That is what makes a church. Come join us at RRPC, where faith means family.
Oh, glad to have y'all here. Glad that y'all are with us here on the fourth Sunday of Lent. We're really getting closer to Easter, and that's it's always kind of that journey. I love the image of journey when it comes to faith, and I've always kind of enjoyed this picture that we have in Lent, where we kind of keep traveling as we get closer and closer to resurrection hope. So, I hope your journey is well. Luke 15:11 through 32, that is a long scripture. This is chapter 15 is Jesus tells three stories in a row, three parables, if you will. The first one is the lost sheep. The one, what shepherd wouldn't leave 99 to go find one? The answer is no shepherd would do that. None would leave 99 in the wilderness to go get one. That seems kind of non-productive. And then the second one's the woman of the house with the lost coin. She spends all day looking for the coin, then she finds it and she throws a bigger party than the coin was worth. So it doesn't make much sense either, right? So and then the third one is the one that we kind of know as the prodigal son. Everybody familiar with the prodigal son? I mean, you just have to drive by a church and you know about the prodigal son, right? I mean, it's innate. I was thinking, what was it? Oh, you pay? Yeah, I'm not gonna. No, I'm not doing that. Hey, Steve, see how easy he's doing. Well, that's going to be a good part of this discussion, actually. The notion of what we think about this on many levels. This is one of those stories that something can really happen with stories that we're really familiar with. One author said it just becomes very limp with meaning at this point because you know it so well. And I always say it this way: we know it so well we don't know it at all. And pastors can have this terrible, terrible problem. It's that when it rolls up in the lectionary like it does every 3 years, then you pop around to it again, you go, oh yeah, I got this one. And then you start writing and then you don't go back and look at it and start thinking about how is it the same, but how does the Spirit make it new in this day and age where we are? And that can always be a problem. Oh yeah, I know the prodigal. I know that song. I know that story. It's easy. So let's think about it. Let's read it. And again, let's think about this. This is a story we all know, right? So let's think really just paying attention to how the story rolls, how it works, and what's familiar, and maybe there is something you don't notice, and there is something that jumped out this year that hasn't really jumped out before. Okay, so and well, that's the crux of the sermon today. So here we go. Jesus, this is the third parable in the story of this succession, right in a row. All of them are about lostness and foundness. And here we are. Then Jesus said, there was a man who had two sons. The younger of them said to his father, Father, give me the share of the property that will belong to me. So he divided his property between them. A few days later, the younger son gathered all he had and traveled to a distant country. And there he squandered his property in desolate living. When he had spent everything, a severe famine took place throughout the country, and he began to be in need. So he went and he hired himself out to one of the citizens of that country, who sent him to his fields to feed the pigs. He would gladly have filled himself with the pods that the pigs were eating, and no one gave him anything. But he came to himself and he said, how many of my father's hired hands have bread enough and to spare, but here I am dying of hunger. I will get up and go to my father, and I will say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Treat me like one of your hired hands. So he set off, and he went to his father. But while he was still far off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion. And he ran and put his arms around him and kissed him. And then the son said to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you, and I am no longer worthy to be called your son. But the father said to his slaves, quickly, bring out a robe, the best one, and put it on him, put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. And get the fatted calf and kill it, and let us eat and celebrate, for this son of mine who was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found. And they began to celebrate. Now his elder son was in the field, and when he came and approached the house, he heard music and dancing. He called one of the slaves and asked what was going on. And he replied, your brother has come, and your father has killed the fatted calf, because he has got him back safe and sound. And then he became angry and refused to go in. His father came out and began to plead with him. But he answered his father, listen, for all these years I have been working like a slave for you, and I have never disobeyed your command. Yet you have never given me even a young goat, so that I might celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours came back, who has devoured your property with prostitutes, you killed the fatted calf for him. Then the father said to him, son, you are always with me, and all that is mine is yours. But we had to celebrate and rejoice, because this brother of yours was dead and has come to life. He was lost and is found. Hey, y'all. So, there we have the story. It is familiar, right? We all know it. So, well, I'm assuming we all know it. Let me just go with that. What'd you hear? Anything jump out to you that you go, boy, I haven't heard that before?
I never thought about him being repentant. I always thought that he was just very selfish and greedy and was coming back to get more.
Uh-huh. Okay.
It shows that he was willing to step down a notch or two.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he's willing to give up his space to come back home. Mm-hmm. You do. Yeah. Yeah, you're the oldest in your family, so yeah. Sibling rivalry here. It comes into play, you're right. And so you sympathize with the older brother. Oh, okay. Mm. Mm. Yeah. Yeah. So maybe the older brother has some issues too. Okay. Okay. Just for funsies. Okay. I am second born. Okay. So firstborns just kind of, I don't know what their problem is, but I know, yeah. Just in our relationship, Deb is firstborn, I'm secondborn. So, and we live those, when we do live those characteristics out to the T. Okay, you know, we really do, and those who know us know, yeah, oh yeah. But how many people, when we hear this story first up, you just go, man, I sympathize with the older brother. Really? Come on. I mean, but okay, this story doesn't seem fair, does it? Does it seem fair? Let me let you in on a secret. It's not. It's not fair on certain levels. It's not. Okay? Of course we feel for that guy, because he's like, oh my gosh, there he is working, and he's working like a slave. He's doing everything he says he's doing. He's done all the right things, and yet he feels left out. Okay? That's something we can, and that's legit. we can talk about. But I think Julie's right that when you step back and think about it just a little bit longer, you might find out that this probably shouldn't be called the prodigal son. It might be called the prodigal sons. Okay, could be. And there's another title for this that could be my favorite would be, how about the prodigal dad? Maybe we'll talk about that in a little bit. What else did you hear that you might not have heard before? So we know it. The celebration starts without the older brother even knowing. That doesn't seem right. Yeah, I don't really have a good answer for that one. I'm sorry. I really, really don't. Because I do go, somebody should have really let him know, right? Hmm? Yeah. Well, no, that's the younger son. Yeah, the younger son. Okay, yeah. The party's about the younger brother coming home. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I would say I don't totally have a grasp on that part. I'd have to think about that more. That is not what I focus on today. Interesting. What else?
Why wouldn't I look at it as being God just being so joyous and happy of that return son,
Right.
like not putting off that joyfulness,
Right.
that party celebration, to wait for
Right. It is the
somebody else who's already there.
right. All three parables, and especially the second one and the third one is about celebration of bringing lost to foundness. What does it mean to be lost, and what does it mean to be found? Too, and the older brother is somewhat lost in his own works as well, right? I've done everything right. I've done everything right, man. I've done this right, and maybe not, or maybe, what if he'd have just asked, right, along the way, hey, Dad, can I have a party? He doesn't. He doesn't ask. And the dad says, you've been with me, man. Everything I have is yours. Oh, I didn't think of that. Okay. What about this younger brother? What's he asking from his dad at the start of the story? What's his? What he thinks is his? Okay, so what is he really saying? I want mine now. I want my inheritance now. How do you get an inheritance?
He wants it before the death of his son.
Yeah. Really what he's saying is, Dad, you being dead would be all right with me. At least he didn't kill him, right? Yeah. Well, this is the... it is. I mean, y'all, this is kind of a once upon a time. I mean, he's trying to get a point across, right? So, right, but he's so.
Kind of put a different spin on it. Like, well, then he killed his father because of all his money.
Yeah, yeah, it's right. About lost us and found us, right? Okay, Phil.
I said he wasn't happy with what in the situation he was in. He wanted something bigger, better.
Yeah, he wants something else. Then in a culture where family and identity with family is everything, and in community.
And the firstborn was.
Yeah, he's tied into that. But the second is like, my family, my culture, this space is not enough for me. I want to go somewhere else.
Well, in this culture, is the secondborn, do you get anything anyway?
Well, that's a good question. I always wondered about that. Yeah, the firstborn I thought got everything. So
I think the firstborn gets a double share.
he gets the doubles, yeah. And I think that is the ultimate.
Divided up equally, except he gets.
Yeah, he gets his chunk. So the dad, what's wrong with this dad? Let's talk about the dad some too. What's wrong with this dad? In their culture, you don't have these discussions with your kids. You just don't. he's just, what kind of dad does this, right? in this culture, it's not even pertinent. Well, one of the writers that I quote today talks about going into this culture even now and having these conversations with people, asking this. What would happen if this happened, if a son asked for this? No, the dad would beat him. It'd beat him. You just don't ask this question. You just don't ask this. This is ridiculous. So the dad just kind of gives in to his kid. Say what? What?
When he came back home, he celebrated the "I told you so."
Yeah, well, he doesn't do an "I told you so," though, does he? He really doesn't. The dad, I mean, even, and in the culture too, it's what it was the fun thing that he says about here today. What does the dad do when he sees him coming back?
He runs to meet him.
Runs to him. Big part of the story. Overlooked that, me, forever, until this year. For whatever reason, figured I better go back and read it again, so I don't jump over the parts that, but in the culture, the dads don't really run to you. You come to them. So, also the dad's not doing everything he's supposed to do to fit the culture. The dad's just like falling all over himself for his kids. Another thing a dad doesn't do would go out onto the porch and plead with the older son to come in. He wouldn't plead with him. He'd just say, in. Go in. You don't, dads, in this patriarchal society, they don't plead with their kids. They don't have financial conversations with their kids. They just don't give their kids what they want.
But it's all his, he can do what he wants with it.
Right. But the ultimate issue is that in that culture, you just don't, dads don't act like this guy.
But he's got a right to do whatever he pleases.
Right. But in this culture, the dad would go, no, you can't have what's yours because you're wishing me dead. He's not running to him because we don't do that. Not in public. And then you don't go plead with the older son either.
Maybe show that God is a different type of father than
Yeah.
their patriarchal moms.
Luke is really, really, really depicting God in an interesting sort of way here. In that, because okay, let's we can break it down, right? Because we, like we said last week about allegorizing parables, we shouldn't really necessarily do that, but we do, and in this case, it's probably pretty safe because we all think God is the dad here, the parent, right? And that these kids are two different kind of things. Now, in their culture, again, Luke's gospel is written to the Gentiles, those who were non-Jews, who are being welcomed in through Jesus as a Christ, right? They're being welcomed into the family. They're away, and they're welcome to come in. And those Jews who have been converted to Christianity, in this story, you might want to even say they're the older brothers. They're out on the porch. They're like, we've been here. We've been the elect. Huh? Yeah, we had it. This is us. And now you're celebrating them coming in? Seriously? Them? Yeah, the little brother, right. Yeah, the Gentiles get to come in? Seriously? You've got to be kidding me.
It's similar to leaving the 99 for the one. Leaving
Yeah.
the other son for
Yeah.
the one.
Yeah, that's right.
The joy came from the one that was lost and found.
Found, right. And notice how that interplay goes between the dad and the older brother. Your son, he's not even claiming him as kin. Your son, man. And here's my favorite part. He blew your money on prostitutes. I'm like, how do you know that? How do you know? Were you there? No. You're just making these accusations about him.
He might have heard stories.
He made, but he was far off. I mean, they don't have Facebook. I mean, you said, I was looking at his Facebook page. I mean, look at his Instagram. So I'm like, how do you get to say that? So there we go. So how does the story end?
I think that's the problem. We don't know how it ends.
Yeah.
You know,
We
it's-
don't have an ending to this story.
Yeah.
Story's open-ended. Now, why would Luke do that? Why would Jesus do that?
Make us think.
Huh? It's open-ended. Yes. Right. And so, where are we left? When the story ends, where are we left? What's happening? There's a celebration inside for the lost kid. And there's a dad asking the older kid to come inside. And that's where we're. Yeah, I mean, in a movie, you do the pull away, right? The music starts, the credits roll, and there's one standing out on the porch. There's this party going on inside. Somehow or another, you can see that on the video or whatever. And there's this dad going. So we have this older son who's just not coming in, and then the party. So, and his dad's inviting him in. That's the way the movie ends.
Isn't that a common theme, though? I mean, you go back to Esau and Jacob.
Mm-hmm.
It's the younger
Esau and
son
Jacob, yeah.
who, you know,
Yeah, us younger kids get picked on a lot. Yeah, jeez.
Usually for good reason.
It is. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Firstborns are really bossy. I'm just saying, just out loud. But okay, because we had it all. That's right. Yeah, we did. You know what? It is so funny for those of us who only have one child. That child, or at least ours, would I think till she was about the third grade would go, I want a brother or sister. I want a brother or sister. And then finally, it was probably about third grade, it dawned on her, I get all the loot here. My grandparents dump all the stuff on me. And then it was like, yeah, I'm good. We good. We good. I want a dog, but we good. Other than that. And so I was like, oh, okay, there's some promise intellectually here. So, right. So why would you leave a story open-ended like that? Why would Luke do that?
I think to make us stop and
Yeah.
decide who are with
Ooh, right. Very good. Probably could be two reasons as a rhetorical thing. One is that it just shows that God's love is open-ended. It is open-ended. He's ever trying to bring us back. The other option is, which I like this option, is that we finish this story. We're the ones that have to finish this story. No matter where we place ourselves in the story. Okay? We a lot of times we see ourselves as the prodigal who was away and came back home. But I mean, have you really ever run off and blown everything? I mean, I haven't. But, or maybe sometimes I'm the self-righteous one because I'm like, I'm a preacher. Man, I've given my life to this. Why does that, comes out of nowhere, there you are. You're in the church and people love it that you're here, you're back. I mean, we can play that way too. Or like, oh, I don't think I want to celebrate. That person's I don't know. So we have this option. Do we stand out on the porch and sulk about the way things have gone? Or do we come inside and enjoy the foundness of it all? Now, what does that mean for us in the modern church? What does this story mean for us? Screams forgiveness? Yeah. Multiple, yeah.
Father
Yeah.
forgiving
Mm.
one.
Yeah.
Way of love,
Right.
forgiving the other for being capable.
Forgiving both. The dad is like, he's just trying to keep his family together. Reconciliation to the father is that important. And even in the fact that he'll run in public, that he'll have conversations with his kids that he shouldn't really have, and that he'll even plead with them. Please, please don't do this. Please, let's be together. And that reconciliation with God also is reconciliation with each other. That son of yours, no, that brother of yours was away. We had to celebrate. We had to. We had no choice because we thought he was dead and now he's alive. That this story... Go ahead.
I thought it's kind of interesting that they didn't mention the mother at all.
Yeah, okay. I was going to ask about it. I was wondering if anybody was going to throw that in. Julie, right. What about the mom? Okay. Unfortunately, the way the story goes, she's just not there. I mean, it's just, or she didn't count, or there's just no explanation of why the mom's there.
What
Or
was the
isn't.
culture like? The women weren't very important in that culture.
Yeah. Now, you're. Yeah, don't make me talk about that, please, because I will hear it when I get home. Okay. Yes, she wouldn't have had any. Yeah, because female. Oh God. Yeah, she would have loved. Yeah. I mean, look, y'all. Come on. There's no tough love here, right? This is. I mean, we talk about these parents all the time, don't we? God, can you believe that they let their kids run all over them? Jeez, what in the world's wrong with this guy? They should do better. They should have some tough love in that household. Some of us want that. I mean, I get it. But the father he doesn't care about those things. What he cares about is that his kids are reconciled to him and to each other. This brother of yours, he won't let him off the hook. This brother of yours. Wow. So those of us in the church who've been around a long time, when new people come, sit in our pew, whatever, we have to welcome them and be a part. And we're celebrating that somebody's come. The notion of our own self-righteousness that we think, we did everything right, we should be celebrated, and we could be, yeah. Yes, yeah. I mean, maybe that is one angle on this story. Yeah, we're here, huh? Or it comes back, right? Absolutely. Maybe, wow. That puts us into a very different spot, right? And then it makes us confront our own lostness too. We have to confront our own lostness. That anytime we think that we've done everything right and we're doing it right and we're better than them, we better take a step back. And ultimately, this story isn't about the two brothers. It's really about the dad. The gospel is always about God. The gospel is always about God. And God, who is ever willing, could care less about appearances, could care less about how God looks when people, that God is ever about bringing people back to each other and to God. Running in public, I don't care. Having the conversations with the kids, pleading, God is ever about drawing people back. God is willing to give up 99 for one. God is willing to throw a huge party that costs more than the coin that they found. None of that makes any sense whatsoever in a rational mind. Unless you're the one. That's right. And that's the point. We are the one. We are always the one. Or we are that lost coin. We are the prodigal either way you want it. And it's probably oscillate between the two characters, because ultimately the character that's the most important in the story is the dad, the parent. Let's leave it that way, okay? So people don't feel left. But that God is ever about drawing us together and being a part. Well, I don't know about that person. I don't know. We can stand out on the porch and sulk or we can come and be a part of the celebration. That's what God has ever wanted us to be about. Kind of cool. Let's pray. Gracious God, we give thanks for a God that is ever searching for us, no matter how far away or no matter how close we are. God's ever willing to run towards us and bring us home. Not just back to God.